You're watching Byline Wilmington on CBS 10 WILM. Here's your host, Don Ansell.
Retired Marine Master Sergeant Jerry Ensminger was a Marine at Camp Lejeune during a period when their water supply was invaded with toxins. We're talking about that issue. His daughter, what was she, 8 years old when she passed?
Just turned nine.
Nine. And the target was because it was from the drinking water and the water supply at Camp Lejeune being poisoned, really. How many people? I mean, there were thousands and thousands of people that were at Camp Lejeune and were during 30 years that these toxins were in the water there.
Yeah.
How did you start making connections with these people?
It's very difficult because, you know, when you're dealing with a military community, it's a transient population. These people are literally spread out all over the world now. So trying to track them down, you know, as a private individual, it's very difficult to get the word out to these people.
When did you decide this was your mission, and you were not going to let this rest?
1997, August of 1997.
When this report surfaced on when you dropped your plate of spaghetti.
Yeah.
Then and there you said, I am not going to let this rest.
Well, I knew how it made me feel. You know, thinking that I'm possibly going to get an answer to that nagging question that had bothered me by that time for 14 and a half years. I wanted everybody else who was out there who had that same nagging question, I wanted them to get their possible answer as well.
Let me mention that there is a website, and we're going to be flashing it on the screen every so often. It's the website is called the Few, the Proud, the Forgotten, and it's www.tftptf.com. It'll be on the screen, so you can. There it is. It's up now. And go, folks, there is so much information and such shocking information about this issue that we need to hear and read, know about. This happened right in our back doors, right here in North Carolina. Do you think the military knew this was happening during those 30 years?
The military knew, absolutely knew, that they had those contaminants in their drinking water for 5 years.
They knew for 5 years?
From 1980.
As it continued, for at least 5 years, they knew it was happening.
Yes. And they had...
Wasn't their drinking water tested regularly?
Evidently not.
Because public drinking water has to be tested, I know.
Yeah, but I don't know what the requirements were. I know what their requirements were. See, the Department of the Navy had what they call a BUMED instruction, which is the Bureau of Medicine and Surgery for the Navy. They had instructions of their own, military regulations for drinking water aboard ships,
right,
naval vessels, and
bases,
shore installations. And the Marine Corps falls under the Department of the Navy, so they were also regulated by these internal regulations.
But for 5 years, you're convinced they knew?
I'm not convinced. I have the documents.
Okay.
I mean, I have the documents where the people came back from the United States Army's environmental hygiene team and told the Department of the Navy and the Marine Corps that they were having interferences in the tests that they were trying to do. And these interferences were solvents.
Which are toxic.
Yeah.
You maintain the military tried and is still trying to cover this up?
Oh, there's so much obfuscation, half-truths, and total lies being told by these people that, you know, it really saddens me to see the misconduct that's being demonstrated.
To what end, Jerry?
I have no idea.
Is it because of the possible...
It's huge. It is huge. You are talking about, if not the largest, one of the largest drinking water contamination incidents in the history of our nation. You're talking 750,000 to over 1 million people that
went through over those 30 years.
That were exposed. And then the levels of the toxins that were in the water are just horrendous.
Off the chart. You eventually testified about this at a congressional hearing. How did that come about? What came out of that?
In 2004, the Energy and Commerce Committee, there were some regulations that the Department of Defense wanted to get away from as far as environmental regulations. They wanted to get more immunities. Gee, go figure. The world's largest polluter wanted more
leeway,
more immunities from environmental regulations.
The world's largest polluter being
the United States Department of Defense.
Okay.
Forget about Dow Chemical and DuPont or ExxonMobil or BP. The United States Department of Defense is the world's largest polluter by far. Most people don't realize that. I mean,
well, so you were asked to testify at this congressional hearing.
Yes, because there was a faction in Congress that wanted to give DOD those immunities, and there was a faction that did not want to give them.
And they heard about your case, the ones that did not?
Yes. In January of 2004, the Washington Post carried a story about the Camp Lejeune drinking water contamination. The chairman, or the ranking member, who was John Dingell at that time, his staff saw this story and they knew they had this hearing coming up, and they asked me to come testify about what had taken place at Camp Lejeune.
Okay, we're going to take another break. When we come back, in 1997, Jerry already mentioned that there was a study done by a federal agency that reported there were no health risks from that chemically contaminated water on the base. 12 years later, that report was rescinded by the very agency that originally put it out. We'll talk about that when we come back. Stay with us.